All right, let's talk about Hyrox. You and some other folks had contacted me in the recent months. Hey, Matt, there's this new thing. It's from Europe. It's coming to Miami. A bunch of us are going, and I think the easiest way to explain it be it's much like a CrossFit WOD, except unlike CrossFit where they mix it up. This one is always the same workout, the same movements.
Yeah, and it's also a lot more running and cardiovascularly intensive. Um, Basically, for the top guys, it was taking about an hour to complete the whole workout, the whole race, and it was almost a dead even split: 30 minutes in the workout stations and 30 minutes of running, which is way like a CrossFit, competition will usually be like, you know, 200 meters of running and then like the rest of it workouts, and the whole thing will take 10 minutes. So this was without a doubt an endurance competition, but definitely had very CrossFit-like feels to it.
Now, I understand many of you went because there was a bounty put on for the record. Can you talk about what that was?
Yeah, so the current world record holder for the men is Lucas Storath, and for the women is Imke Solander. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right, but they're both German. They had the World Championships in Berlin last year, and Hyrox put out, you could call a little bounty for if anybody could beat that world record, they would give an extra $5,000 to, on top of the $2,500 price purse. So it was a pretty good, we were all kind of gunning for a potential $7,500. And I think they said they were also going to like cover all our expenses out to Berlin for the World Championship next year. So it was pretty good deal. Plus, there's a pretty solid group of us who get pretty excited when any new event like this comes in, whether TMX or that Tahoe face-off type thing, or an event like Hyrox, anything that's like shorter or more strength intensive, we get pretty excited about.
Well, speaking of which, can we do a quick side road? I sometimes get distracted. I go down side roads. I don't know if you understand, if you're familiar with my style at all.
I'm uber familiar.
Okay. It's what I'm famous for, Matt Kempson.
Wow, you said my name correctly for the first time like this year.
I did not mean to tag the wrong Kempson. Like I used to mix up you guys as a joke.
No, that's a lot. You definitely mean to. I get like these random Facebook messages from you all the time. By the way, don't ever Facebook message me because I'm never going to respond.
Well, I've learned that. I'm not going to do that.
I don't have the Facebook app. I don't use Facebook. Like, you have my number. Either call me or text me.
Okay. There's a backstory here that I think we've covered on the show before, but maybe we'll cover it again. I was fucking with the Kempson brothers and pretending I didn't know who I was talking to. Let's break it down this way. I am the kind of person that if you send me a Facebook message and I haven't heard from you in a while, or Instagram message and I haven't heard from you in a while, I will. This is to anyone. I will say, "New phone, who dis?" Now, that's a joke that we all know from texting. However, if it's from Facebook or Instagram, I clearly know who you are because it says who you are. So when people fall for that troll, if you will, it's pretty hilarious to me because it'll be like, "New phone, who dis?" And it's like, "It's me. Don't you see my Instagram thing?" And I'll be like, "I don't know any Matt Kempson." So I did this with the Kempson brothers, and they literally thought I was fucking stupid.
Well, that would be kind of funny, but then there were like multiple live podcasts and like live streams for races where someone would be like, "Hey, that's Matt Kempson," and you'd be like, "No, that's Ryan Kempson."
No, I didn't.
No, there's a video on my Instagram right now of me and Jake Hepner running TMX Sacramento last year. And literally, what's his face? E-Rock. E-Rock is like, "And here we have Matt Kempson coming by." And you're like, "No, that's not Matt Kempson. That's Ryan Kempson."
Oh, okay. I was in Sacramento. I wasn't even in Sacramento.
Sorry, it was Miami.
Well, then I could. Oh, who cares? I know the difference between the two of you.
You brought it up.
You're pudgy and cute. He's faster, slightly less attractive.
That's right.
And he's recently engaged, right?
Recently engaged. He actually did a spectacular job. I'm not going to lie, I would never put money on him doing a spectacular job on engagement, but we had our whole family down in the Outer Banks, North Carolina. The sun was setting. We were on a dock, and he did it. Nobody believed that he was like being serious too. So yeah, kudos to him. He did a great job.
the obstacle designer.
That's correct.
Kempson Designs.
Yep. We actually haven't talked about that on a podcast yet. I don't know
There's
why.
so much, because it's like there's so much to bloody cover. So I total sidetracked to say that you won the Alex and Cassidy championship at NORAM.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That was a blast. And I think it's probably the first time there's ever been a briefcase full of money on the line for a race. So
It definitely,
that's pretty
well,
exciting.
we've seen some big dollars thrown out there, but it's the first like legit WWE style with a briefcase.
Oh yeah. And if anybody's asking for tax purposes, there was no actual money in there.
Okay, right. That's what I was going to say. Did you actually?
Yeah, officially on the record.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to be walking around with, what was it, $1,500, $5,000? What was it?
$1,200. Yeah.
$1,200. Like I said, I think I did say to you in another podcast that by the looks of their video, you would think it was like $50,000. You would think they were making a sequel to one of the heist movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I messaged Cassidy and Alex like as soon as they announced that, and I said like you guys, you should have the money ready to go because I'm gonna win it.
Right.
And she was like well aware of that, and I told them I'd buy them drinks after and whatnot, as long as it all went through. So.
Right. So you win that. You beat Ryan Atkins too. You beat Ryan Atkins. You beat Alex. You beat all the big champs.
Yeah, I got to give Atkins credit for. I mean, he was on Saturday afternoon, so he'd already run 2 races, and then like Atkins doesn't really go half-ass into anything, which is like an awesome quality about him. So it's kind of like, when you're fighting a stray dog, like it doesn't matter how that's a terrible analogy to use, but anyways, he put in a really great effort, and we had a blast.
Yeah, I've said it before. No one looks like Ryan Atkins at the finish line of a Spartan race.
No, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Was like he's, no matter whether or not he's prepared for this thing or how exhausted he is, he's still going to give it 100%. So like anytime you're going up against someone who's given 100%, like it's always dangerous.
Heart of a champion. All right,
exactly.
Let's get to Hyrox. You show up. Everyone's like, "Ooh, we're going to beat the world record." You got Jack Bauer spouting stats everywhere. Nobody beats the world record.
Yeah, and that's because the course is definitely slightly different. I know you mentioned before, like one of the cool things about this event is that the course is exactly the same every time, and like that's sort of true. But the layout is slightly different each time, just because of like logistical purposes, and it doesn't take much in an event like that to really like skew the numbers. So I can't say this for sure because I didn't see actual measurements and pictures of the layout in the previous world championship, but there was 8K of running, right? That was programmed for 8K of running, but the transition area, so just to get from like the end of the run to your workout station and back out to the run, was 130 meters each, a minimum of 130 meters each time. So it was probably close to about 150 meters. On certain ones, you actually had to like weave through the whole festival workout area. So, you're talking about adding now that's 1,200 plus meters to the run, which, that can add up to 5 minutes, especially if it's, not a straightaway of running. So that's, if you looked at the top time of the previous world champion, Luke Storath, he was, I believe, 3 or 4 minutes off of his previous world record time. And we would all kind of agree that he's probably fitter for this race. So meaning that I'd say the whole thing was probably about 5 minutes slower than it was for the previous world championship.
So you think it wasn't intentional, it was just a matter of the layout?
Whether it was intentional or not, I met all the guys the founders and the guys who are currently running Hyrox, and they seem like really awesome guys. And honestly, if they tweaked a couple of things to protect their $5,000, like that sucks, but whatever. It kind of is what it is. And, but it definitely was no doubt longer, because we all kind of simulated it, and a lot of people were throwing out some big numbers. I know Kent, Bauer, Bracken were throwing out some numbers like, we're going to beat the world record by a minimum of 10 minutes. And I was like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, but Jack Bauer is really, really bad at predicting things. I've established that.
Really? Because aren't you really bad?
I was great up until Tahoe.
Okay, well, that's kind of the most important race of the year.
Yeah. So listen, so last year I didn't do it. Like we would kind of text each other our picks because I didn't ever bother going online. And then it turned out he was actually putting my picks in. And so if you look on the standings, it looks like I made picks for 3 of the race. I'm going, this is the same guy who said VJ was the best racer in OCR. This is the same guy who's like, every time is like, Kent's going to have a monster race and he doesn't. He's the same guy that didn't put Aaron in the top 10 at all for Tahoe. So,
I mean, it wouldn't be that bad of a call to not put Aaron in the top 10 Tahoe, honestly.
well, listen, we talked about this.
Just judging by his like previous finishes, that's not like
you had to leave certain people out. It was once you got past 5 or 6, there's really 10 guys that could have been in that bottom 5 or 6 spots.
Exactly.
But it sure does make me really happy when I get a pick right that he gets wrong. But his homework paid off. He put in Albert Saleh, which I did not do, and he put in Miriam, which I stupidly did not put in.
Did Saleh come top 10?
Saleh was 10th.
Did he get not grandfather? Did he get bumped in because of the Woodsy thing?
Johnny Lima.
Oh, Johnny.
Anyway, listen. Next year we're going to prove it. Next year, no talking. No, there will be lots of talking actually. But for Jack to say me and Bracken are going to beat the record by 10 minutes is not surprising. Jack gets really excited about things. I
know.
And then he's wrong. So we all know that competition is different than in-game theory. But the fact that everyone, including the guy who previously smashed it, was that far off shows something was amiss. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say it wasn't intentional. It was just a layout circumstance.
I mean, that being said, regardless of the actual times, relatively our times to each other, it sort of turned into a Germany versus United States competition because they sent over, a handful of their top guys, and we obviously brought the best that we had available in the States. And 4 out of the 5 top guys were all Americans. So that's pretty good showing.
You're going to have to ask that guy to move if he's going to talk behind you. He's distracting me.
Johnny, that's just because he's like good-looking Brazilian dude. A little skinny right now, but
he probably he's like, if you put you guys like together, it would be tough. Like for a lady to choose because you got the Latin thing on top of it. You know what I mean? Yeah,
but I got a lot of swag, Matt.
Yeah, he's still kind of like the shy, kind of quiet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you currently in a relationship?
I'm single and ready to mingle.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So can I give you one piece of free advice?
Is it sexual?
Well,
I'm open. I'm listening.
Don't hang out with Hunter.
Because
in any room
we have a blast.
And then Hunter's in there, and now you're immediately like, I get Hunter. Okay, I get Hunter's friend.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's kind of something you just got to learn to deal with,
Right.
Yeah.
So you want me to give you a story that you'll relate to?
I thought this was story time.
So it's pretty well known in that I used to do stand-up comedy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this guy I know told the story of he was like opening for Carrot Top, right? And like he had a date for the show, right? And she went to see him at like some big theater, right? Because when you're new, you can open up for some pretty big names, right? Like you can be not like I always say, you can't pick up a guitar and then 6 months later open up for the Rolling Stones. Like it doesn't work. But in comedy, you can, right?
Because they want you to bomb so that the main act looks better.
No, it's just how it works. It's just like you get a gig and it's just how it works, right? So like I got to open up for I worked with Louis C.K. I worked with a bunch of people that like I had no business working with. It's just how comedy goes, right?
Okay.
Louis Black I got to open for, right? Anyway, the point is he thinks he's going to impress this girl by bringing her to the show, right? Then he brings her backstage to meet Carrot Top. Guess what happens? She and Carrot Top end up
busy in the green room.
You idiot.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So is Carrot Top that smooth?
Well, he was really famous for a while. Now he's a joke, right? He's got the weird face going on, but
He
he
was
was the
always a
biggest.
joke.
No, but he was a joke, but at least he was the biggest thing in comedy. Now he's something that's merged. I should have used it. I can't. The point is, you don't want to if you're rolling with the ladies and then
I think I get the point of the story you're trying to make is that you're drawing a very close comparison between Hunter and Carrot Top,
yes,
which I can totally see that. If he was like, he's Scottish, if he had slightly redder hair, he would actually look exactly like Carrot Top.
Right. Like I'm not gonna say to some chick, let me show you how cool I am by introducing you to Mick Jagger, because Mick Jagger's now gonna fuck the girl that I brought to the party. That's what I'm trying to say.
But see, I'm not all that intimidated by a large man who looks strikingly similar to Carrot Top. That doesn't really faze me too much.
This is going to be one of those situations that people are going to say, why isn't Matt Kempson on the show more? I actually should have you and your brother on the show, because you're very different guys, but you are both very opinionated, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're extremely different. It's actually shocking that we spent so much time together and grew up together, because we're nothing alike.
So overall, you liked the event. What would you like to see different? Anything you want to see change?
So in a completely this is a non-paid advertisement, obviously, but I think that Hyrox did a spectacular job at putting on the event. They sent over, I think, probably 30 employees they had from Germany. So basically the whole crew was there. We got to meet them all. They were like very accommodating to the athletes. And I've said this before, this kind of sounds, this is a bit of a throwback to what we saw at TMX, but obviously the organization behind TMX never really followed through with anything and things fell apart. That's not the vibe.
You mean Tough Mudder or CBS?
Tough Mudder. But after that event, everybody's really excited. Like, they took such good care of the athletes. The coverage was great, blah, blah, blah. Well, and then we kind of had that same thing with Hyrox. They did a spectacular job taking care of the athletes. The event was very professional. They had more than enough judges they had basically a judge on every single person at every single workout station. They weren't professional judges by any means, but they at least had one or two head judges that were going around and making sure that everything was on point. So like, you'd be doing wall balls and your guy would be giving you, counting your reps. And then the head judge might come around and be like, no, watch him. He's not getting full depth. You can't count that rep. And so he was kind of keeping everybody on track, which is about all you can ask for from an event that's just getting going like this. But they showed a ton of promise. They're really excited about their expansion into the United States. And if you look, I think they have like 8 events over in Europe right now, and they're looking at putting on like 6 or 7 events in the United States. So basically they're talking about making half of their audience in the United States, which is super exciting. I was really, really stoked about it. The guys even invited us, all the athletes, out to an after party after the event, which, I'm always a big fan of. But that's just really cool that, like, you never see, and I'm not trying to take jabs at anybody, but like, you've never seen Spartan put on, tell all the top athletes, hey guys, meet us. So, at so-and-so at 9:00, we're going to pick up your bar tab so that you guys can all, kind of come and mingle and get to know. Like, that's really important for after race, that everybody gets to know each other. And kind of, you see a lot of tension in between David Watson and Brian Woods and, Robert Coble and whoever. I guarantee you a lot of that tension would be broken down if the guys just had a couple beers.
Let's just break bread, bro. Absolutely.
Exactly. It's, it's such a simple concept. And like in any other, any big business merger that happens or big event, everybody goes out for beers after. You don't have to get blitzed, but like, have a beer and have a conversation with the dude who put the event on. It's gonna break down some barriers.
Well, listen, I'm a guy that's had beefs, right? And I've been a guy that's held on to grudges, but I'm also one to say it is hard to hate someone if you sit across from them and have a meal. It really is.
It is, absolutely.
Now, I've also sat down with people and been like, okay, I'm not going to actively fight you anymore, but we're still not bros. I'm not going to hang out with you. But dude, the Woodsy, I don't want to spend too much time on that because we could talk.
Honestly, I don't even care. I don't.
But I just want to quickly say, since it got brought up, I've known Woodsy's felt that way for a long time. It's interesting that it's all coming out now. I'm going to try to get those two to talk together, maybe in Greece. Who knows? But let's
That's
back up. Let's back up. The one,
exactly.
Corinna, I talked to Corinna, and she had a couple issues with the event. And one was that she thought the squat depth thing that you mentioned for the wall balls was like kind of BS. Like she said that they used a bucket if you couldn't get deep enough. And it was like, okay, we'll just go to the bucket. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm not Mr. CrossFit, but even I know getting deep is the whole point.
Yeah. And I believe they did that so they weren't creating a barrier for entry for a lot of, because they want anybody to be able to do this event. But honestly, I think it's kind of like at the CrossFit for Spartan is where they're starting to modify their event to make it more user-friendly for people. I think that's a very bad idea because now you're –
for the pro wave. You want to have open, do open, but for the pro wave.
For any wave, honestly, like you want to encourage people to be in better shape and be fit. So don't make it okay that they can't squat to 90 degrees. Like your average person should be able to squat to 90 degrees. That's, even if it takes them a lot longer to do the wall balls, it's good for them.
So you're saying it's kind of like the burpees. Like you can't say 30 burpees is too many. You just, if it's going to take you an hour, it takes you an hour. But squatting deep is different though. Like you're physically can't do it, right?
You can't do it because you haven't trained for it. Just like you couldn't do a heavy sled push if you haven't trained for it. You wouldn't be it's not, people do have physical restrictions that keep them from doing that, but it's, for the most part, that could be fixed. Like runners have a very hard time doing wall balls because they have extremely tight hips and they haven't spent a lot of time going down to 90. It's why Faye Stenning have been having a really hard time with it. And what's the first thing she did? She admitted that, hey, I need to do more strength training and I need to get better with my hip mobility because I clearly can't do this. And that's exactly what you want to encourage that out of an athlete like Faye. You want to encourage Faye to, become a stronger, more well-rounded athlete rather than being like, oh, you can't do that. Oh, sorry. Okay, we'll put a bucket there so you can just not do it.
What about the sled push that was a little carpet issues? What do you think about that?
What in particular? It was badass.
I know it was an issue for our buddy Corinna, so I just wanted to know if you thought it was her fault.
Yeah, so Corinna, there definitely was like a bit of a footwear, like your choice of footwear definitely affected it slightly. But to be honest, and I'm relatively unforgiving, and I do like Corinna. I think she's just a spectacular athlete. But we, like me and Cole and the boys out here spent as long, I don't know, this event was announced 3 months ago. We spent 3 months preparing for this, and we did a lot of sled pushes, and we did it on all sorts of varying terrain. And we experienced that exact thing that Corinna experienced where your feet would slip. And from just training it again and again and again, we realized that when you come into a scenario like that, which is sometimes inevitable, you have to actually kind of bring your posture up a little taller and you have to lift the sled up. Because what that does is it creates more downward force on your feet and give you better traction, like a better coefficient of friction on the ground, and allows you to move it forward without slipping. And that's something we learned from training it a lot. So, like, honestly, I think had Corinna spent more time with the sled, she would probably know that, because she even admitted that she figured out halfway through she had to lift the sled up a little bit to get it to move. So while I respect Corinna a lot as an athlete, I think that's something could have been avoided if she just probably spent a little more time with sleds.
Fair enough, my friend. Well, listen, I don't have a ton of time today. I want to get you on the program. I want to know what's up for you next as an athlete. What's up next for you as an obstacle designer?
As an athlete, I'm going to finish out the stadium series. We got Fenway and ATT coming up, and then I'm going to take a nice long off season and probably get the strength back up a little bit, and as well as put together a good aerobic base, get the body feeling good again. And then as far as obstacle design, there's going to be an official announcement by OCR World Championships soon, but I don't think I'm out of line in saying that I'll be doing a short course by Kempson Designs next year at OCR World Championship. So that is what's
so the short course this year was designed by
I believe, I want to say it was some local I don't want to go throwing
Right.
out
It
names.
wasn't.
I'm going to get it wrong.
It wasn't Force 5. It was somebody else.
Yeah, but it was a local company.
So you're going to be the mastermind
okay.
behind the 100-meter short course.
Exactly. And as you know, I'm somewhat opinionated, especially when it comes to course design. And I have a very particular vision on how I think a course like that should go to be spectator friendly and good for the athletes and good for the sport. And I'm going to do everything in my power. Well, more than everything in my power, because I'm going to be responsible for it, to make sure that course follows that kind of ethos that I believe in.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You and I will talk soon, my friend.
Sounds good, brother.
See you, dude.
Adios.